We are looking today at one of the most paradoxical markets in the entire European digital economy. We're talking about Germany.
Right.
And if you just, look at the raw numbers, the opportunity seems absolutely stunning. You're looking at Europe's largest
A
economy,
huge population.
a massive population, and something like a 95% internet penetration rate. This market is projected to hit a gross gaming revenue of 14.4 billion in 2024.
On paper, it looks like a gold rush. It really does.
It does.
But then you start digging into the reality of the regulatory environment, and the whole picture just shifts completely.
How so?
Despite all that potential, all that digital sophistication, Germany gets an operator E-score of just 4.8 out of 10 in our analysis.
That's incredibly low.
It is. And that one number really tells you the whole story, the whole contradiction.
Yeah.
Massive potential on one hand, but one of the toughest, most challenging regulated markets on the planet on the other.
A 4.8. Okay, so there's a huge gap there between the theory and the reality on the ground. We need to understand what's creating that gap.
Exactly.
To do that, we're relying on some really deep intelligence from the Gambling Databases research team. Now we're a group dedicated to delivering in-depth analyses of the global iGaming landscape. In each of these country-specific reports, we explore all the key aspects, local regulations, taxation, what the player experience is like, and of course, operator conditions.
And emerging trends, too.
And emerging trends. Our goal here is to provide a really clear, data-driven understanding of how the gambling industry actually works in this market and what makes it so unique.
And for Germany, it's definitely unique.
Our analysis today is going to focus on two main things. First, the incredibly strict regulatory environment set up by the Interstate Treaty on Gambling 2021, the GLUS-TV.
Right.
And second, the truly punitive financial model that basically defines whether you can survive in this market or not.
That treaty, the GLUS-TV 2021, is the absolute foundation for everything. I mean, it was a real game changer. It legalized online gambling across the entire country for the very first time.
So it ended decades of legal gray areas.
Exactly. And to manage this, they set up the GGL, the Joint Gambling Authority of the lender, which came into being in 2023. It oversees everything. Licensing, compliance, enforcement, all of it, uniformly across all 16 federal states.
So it's very centralized, very controlled.
Intense is the word.
And the first place operators feel that control is with product restrictions. This is the first thing in the source material that just made my jaw drop. It feels like it legislates away the core business model for most casino operators.
Yeah, it really does. When you analyze a typical online casino's profitability, you find that a huge slice of it, maybe 40 to 60%.
Half or more.
Yeah, easily. It comes from just two game categories.
Yeah.
Online roulette and live dealer casino games.
And under the 2021 treaty, what happens to those?
Banned. Completely prohibited.
Both of them.
Both. Totally gone from the regulated market.
Yeah.
And you can forget progressive jackpots, too. They're also banned.
So if you're an operator, you're left with
Virtual slots, online poker, and sports betting. That's it. You're basically wiping out half the revenue stream that makes a normal international online casino profitable.
Well, I can't get over that. Legislating away maybe 60% of your potential revenue right off the bat.
Yeah.
So, okay, with that in mind, what are the basic requirements for a foreign company to even apply for one of these limited licenses?
Well, foreign companies are allowed, but the rules are strict. First, you have to maintain a physical office within the EU or the EEA.
And not just a mailbox, right?
Oh, no. This needs qualified staff on site for compliance, for liaising with the regulator, and, critically, the entire platform has to be fully German.
Meaning?
The website, all the customer support, every single policy document, every TNC, everything has to be in German.
Okay, so that's a significant localization cost. And then you get to the technical compliance, which just adds another layer of expense.
That's up. The GGL mandates that operators have to segregate gambling types. So slots have to be on a distinct part of your domain from, say, poker.
And you can't cross-promote them.
Explicitly forbidden. You can't run a banner on your slots page saying, hey, come try our poker tables. The whole system is designed to build walls between products to restrain the player.
It's all about compartmentalizing the experience.
It's a very clear signal. The framework is built around harm reduction first, and market access is a very distant second.
Which is a perfect segue into the player protection measures, which, are great for users, but they have a crippling effect on revenue potential. And for you, the listener, this affects every single time you want to deposit. So what's this centralized player limit?
This is the big one. There's a mandatory maximum monthly deposit limit of 1,000 euros. per player.
Okay, 1,000 euros.
But here's the crucial part, the bit that just decimates the VIP model. This limit is tracked across all licensed operators.
Whoa, wait. So it's not 1,000 euros per site.
No.
It's 1,000 euros total that you can spend in the entire regulated German market each month.
Exactly. It's all tracked through a centralized system. So that instantly caps the lifetime value of any high-spending player, the very players that usually drive revenue in other markets.
For any operator trying to build a business around high-value customers, that model it's just a non-starter in Germany.
Completely unviable.
Yeah.
And it's not just the money. They add friction into the gameplay itself with these mandatory cooldown periods.
Right. I saw this. If you're playing slots, you're forced to take a 5-minute pause during gameplay.
A mandatory 5-minute pause.
Oh.
Plus, you get session time alerts after 60 minutes of continuous play. It's a very managed, very interrupted experience.
Okay, so those are major friction points. But let's shift to the financial hurdles because the upfront costs here are, well, they're astronomical.
They are. Application fees alone can go up to 185,000 towers.
And that's just to get your application looked at. But the figure that's really crazy is the security deposit.
Yes. Operators have to lock up a massive security deposit that starts at 5 million euros.
5 million.
Starts there. It can go all the way up to 50 million euros depending on your expected turnover.
And that money is just locked up with the regulator.
For the entire duration of the license. It's not earning interest. You can't use it for operations or marketing. It's just gone.
5 million euros just sitting there. So, I mean, you're talking total market entry costs of what, 6 to 8 million euros minimum?
That's the estimate, yes.
Yeah.
6 to 8 million minimum before you even take your first bet.
Yeah.
That is a huge immediate barrier for anyone who isn't one of the absolute biggest global players.
And we haven't even gotten to the part that really kills the profits.
The part that truly makes Germany different from almost every other regulated market in Europe, the tax structure. This is the ultimate profit killer.
So break this down for us. How is the German model so different from, say, the UK where they tax GGR?
Yeah, you said it. In almost every successful market, the tax is on gross gaming revenue, or GGR. That's the operator's profit after paying out winnings.
Yep.
It makes sense.
Right.
Germany, however, imposes a 5.3% tax on stakes, on turnover,
Wait, on the stake, not the profit.
on every single bet placed. It completely inverts the economics of the business.
Let me just make sure I understand this. If I'm running a slot, my actual profit margin, my house edge, might only be, what, 5.5 or 6%?
A good estimate, yes.
And if the tax is 5.3% of every single spin, I'm paying a tax that's almost as big as my entire profit margin. It's like taxing a grocery store on the sticker price of an apple, not the profit they make on it.
That's the perfect analogy, and the source material is very clear on this. For typical slot margins, that 5.3% turnover tax can consume over 100% of the gross profit.
Over 100%.
Before you even think about paying for salaries, marketing, or corporate taxes, it can make thin margin products economically impossible.
So you could literally be paying more in this stake tax than you're earning in gross profit. And then on top of that, you still have to pay corporate income tax.
Of course, you have the German corporate tax structure, about 15% nationally, plus a local trade tax, which adds up to around 30% corporate tax on whatever tiny profit might be left.
So the effective total tax burden on your actual real profit must be, what, 50, 60%?
Easily. And this right here is the single biggest reason for that 4.8 out of 10 operator ease score. You have to be massive, you have to be incredibly patient and hyper efficient just to break even.
So, okay, let's say you somehow clear all those hurdles. You've got your 8 million euros. You've accepted the profit-killing tax. What does day-to-day life look like under the GGL? This brings us to the compliance and enforcement.
The monitoring is it's intense and it's real time. Operators have to do instant KYC, know your customer verification the second someone signs up.
Okay.
You need continuous anti-money laundering checks, real-time transaction reporting. You're basically running a live data feed straight to the regulator. They see everything.
And I imagine the GGL doesn't mess around.
Not at all. The authority conducts unannounced compliance audits,
Yeah.
surprise inspections of your systems, your books, your responsible gambling tools.
And the penalties.
They can reach up to 500,000 euros per administrative offense. A single mistake, a single advertising breach can cost you €500,000.
Which explains why just the cost of running a compliance team is estimated at over €1 million a year. It's a huge operational cost.
It is.
So how do you even acquire customers in this environment when your hands are tied like this?
Well, your customer acquisition cost, your CAC, goes through the roof. Advertising is just severely restricted. Beyond the standard bans on targeting minors, Germany also has really tight restrictions on promoting bonuses.
Like deposit bonuses and free spins.
Exactly, the bread and butter of acquisition in other markets. And there are specific limits on sponsorships, especially with sports figures.
And that regulatory reach is wide, isn't it? Our sources say those €500,000 penalties don't just apply to operators.
No, they extend to affiliates, to advertisers, anyone promoting unlicensed content. It makes third-party marketing an extremely high-risk game to play.
So let's put it all together. The huge entry costs, the product bans, the constant enforcement, that brutal turnover tax. What's the final economic verdict?
Well, the average revenue per user, the ARPU, is only about €375.
€375. That's the reality check, isn't it? You spend $8 million to get in, $1 million a year on compliance, you pay a tax that eats your margins, and your average customer, who is capped at $1,000 a month, only yields you €375 a year.
That's the math.
So what's the time frame? How long does it take to see a positive return on that investment?
The estimate is 5 to 7 years, minimum.
5 to 7 years to even break even.
So our verdict is, it's pretty unambiguous. The German market is viable only for major, extremely well-capitalized operators who are thinking in terms of decades, not quarters.
So startups, anyone looking for a quick ROI?
Absolutely. Avoid this market. It's a scale game. The economics are deliberately designed to be prohibitive for everyone except the biggest of the big.
That paints an incredibly clear picture. The core takeaway for you, the listener, is this. Germany offers this huge, stable market with real regulatory certainty, but it demands perfection, it bans major products like roulette and live dealer, and it imposes a tax structure designed to just aggressively thin your margins.
It's a stable opportunity for giants.
And an absolute graveyard for anyone else.
Which brings us to a final sort of provocative thought. Germany has worked really hard to block the black market. They've issued over 450 prohibition orders, blocked payments.
Right.
But if the regulated market completely bans products that people clearly want, like live dealer games, and imposes that strict €1,000 limit, are you just inadvertently pushing your highest value players offshore?
Pushing them to the very black market you're trying to fight.
Exactly. They'll go looking for those gains for higher limits no matter what blocking you put in place. It creates this permanent tension between what consumers want and what the regulator allows, and the current framework just hasn't solved that yet.
That is definitely something to think about. The law of unintended consequences. Thank you for relying on our data. For the full text of this and other country reports, you can visit our website at gamblingdatabases.com.